When an avoidant leaves a relationship, it often looks calm and logical on the outside. There's no big emotional processing, no dramatic goodbye, and sometimes it even looks like relief to them. But what's really happening is not emotional clarity, it's more of emotional protection. Avoidants don't process breakups through feelings first. They process them through logic because logic keeps their nervous system safe from pain. They think logically instead of emotions because feelings feel unsafe to them. So, let's talk about logic. Most avoidants make decisions in choosing partners based on logic. It has to make logical sense to be with you. This is because some avoidants learn early on that emotions don't lead to comfort. They lead to overwhelm, rejection, or loss of control. At some point in their life, feeling deeply didn't result in being soothed or supported. It resulted in having to handle things alone. So their nervous system adapted by choosing logic over emotion, because logic feels contained, controlled, and predictable. When an avoidant feels strong emotions, their body doesn't experience them as connection. It experiences them as threat. Their heart rate increases, sometimes raise blood pressure, their chest tightens, their thoughts race, and their system goes into self-protection. Logic becomes a shield. It organizes the pain, explains it away, and keeps them from being flooded by feelings they don't know how to calm or regulate. This is why after a breakup, avoidants don't sit and cry or process loss the way anxious or secure people might. Instead, they analyze, they justify, they list reasons, and if they don't have enough logical reasons, they look for it. They go on a massive search to justify pulling away. They tell themselves why it had to end. Thinking feels safer than feeling. If they can make it make sense, they don't have to sit inside the ache. They don't have to feel guilty for doing you the way that they did. Logic also gives them distance. Emotions pull them inward, toward vulnerability and cravings. Logic pushes them outward, toward independence and control. And control is what keeps their nervous system calm. Without control, they fear being consumed by the emotions they don't trust themselves to handle. Almost immediately after the breakup, the avoidant mind starts rewriting the story. They repeat the same explanations they've used before from other partners. She was too much. We were on different paths. They were too needy, or it just wasn't aligned. These stories aren't always intentional lies. They're self-soothing justifications. The avoidant brain needs the breakup to make sense because sitting with the truth would require feeling grief, loss, and cravings. Emotions their nervous system has spent a lifetime avoiding. From the avoidance perspective, the relationship felt emotionally exhausting, not because their partner was wrong for wanting time, attention, or to get closer, but because their emotional capacity is limited. Normal relationship needs can feel overwhelming to someone with avoidant attachment. So the mind reframes it as too much, even when the needs were human and reasonable. This is why avoidants often repeat the same narrative about different partners. The common denominator isn't the people. It's the unresolved pattern inside them that they aren't aware of. They don't see their own patterns because they think everyone else is just wrong for them. Self-reflection feels like emotional exposure, and emotional exposure feels unsafe. Pattern recognition requires sitting with the discomfort of knowing they might have been wrong about everyone they've dated. It requires admitting, maybe I shut down, maybe I pull away, maybe I leave when things get close. And for an avoidant, that level of emotional accountability can feel destabilizing, like opening a door they don't know how to close. Right after the breakup, the nervous system finally calms down. There are no expectations anymore, no emotional conversations, no pressure to show up, explain, or reassure. And for a while, this feels regulating. Their body relaxes, their stress drops, and they mistake this calm for proof they made the right decision. They tell themselves they feel better alone, lighter, more like themselves again. But this calm doesn't last because it isn't healing. It's just avoidance finally getting silence. Once the nervous system fully settles, there's nothing left to react against. No conflict, no messages, no emotional intensity from the other person. And that's when the silence starts to get loud. The very quiet they needed becomes uncomfortable. Now there's space for emotions to surface. Memories begin to replace justifications. They start remembering connection instead of pressure, closeness instead of overwhelm. They replay moments they felt seen, understood, or safe. This is the part avoidants fear the most, because they didn't leave due to lack of feeling. They left because feeling too much while inside the relationship overwhelmed their system. Once the relationship is gone, the feelings they suppressed come up anyway. Sitting alone with those emotions is extremely hard for avoidants because they don't struggle with having emotions. They struggle with regulating them. They don't know how to sit with grief, craving, or missing someone without feeling flooded. So instead of staying still, they look for distraction. They keep busy, work more, scroll endlessly, go out, or emotionally attach to someone new. I hate to say this, but if they're missing you, they will grab a rebound and use them in place of you. They may even call the rebound a similar nickname as you. Not because they're over you, but because sitting still forces them to feel. And feeling feel too strong, so strong it feels stressful to the body. The nervous system goes into a stress mode, making them feel overwhelmed or flooded. This is why rebounds are common. A rebound isn't about replacement, it's about regulation. A new person brings novelty, dopamine, and surface level connection. The rebound becomes an adventurous coping mechanism fling. There's no emotional history, no depth yet, and no expectations. That keeps emotions shallow and manageable. But rebounds don't heal anything. They delay the emotional reckoning. They prevent the real healing the avoidant needs. And when the distraction fades, the silence returns. They will think of the person they really needed instead of the rebound. The avoidant often isn't even aware that the rebound is a coping mechanism. They're not thinking, I'm going to use this person to get over the one I really wanted because I feel too much for them. At first, it just feels like fun, distraction, or keeping busy. But eventually, their brain and nervous system catch up. They start to realize that the rebound isn't filling the void. It's not real connection, and it can't replace the emotions they're still carrying for the person they truly miss. That's when it stops feeling easy or satisfying, and they start pulling back. The moment an avoidant feels triggered to reach out usually doesn't happen immediately. It happens after the nervous system calms and the distractions stop working. It shows up in quiet moments, when they realize no one is reaching for them anymore, when loneliness replaces relief, and when emotional safety feels lost instead of restored. They may not fully understand what they're feeling, but suddenly you're on their mind again. When avoidants reach out, they rarely lead with vulnerability. They don't say they miss you or regret leaving. Instead, they test the emotional temperature, a casual, hey, a check-in, or a vague message. They're unconsciously asking, is it safe? Will this overwhelm me? Will emotions flood back if I open this door? If the response feels heavy, emotional, demanding, or drama is brought up, their nervous system spikes and they pull away again. If it feels calm, Grounded and non-reactive, they feel safer. This is why avoidants move toward connection slowly and pull away quickly when pressure returns. The truth most people miss is this: avoidants don't leave because they don't care. They leave because caring activates fear. Fear of emotional responsibility, fear of being depended on, fear of being trapped, fear of not being enough. After the breakup, logic protects them until silence forces them to feel what they tried to outrun. This isn't about waiting for an avoidant or holding on to hope. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding the pattern so you stop personalizing it. Avoidants don't heal through pressure or intensity. They move toward connection when there is safety, calm, and emotional steadiness. And sometimes, the silence they created becomes the very thing that brings them face to face with the truth they were trying to avoid all along. If this podcast resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Thanks for listening.